In the vast tapestry of human history, a question has perennially echoed through the ages. Which civilization holds the title of the oldest on Earth? Some voices in the chorus of history argue for the 5,000-year-old Chinese civilization. Others advocate for the Sumerian civilization, dating back over 6,000 years. Yet whispers of the Basque people, nestled in Spain's Pyrenees Mountains and claiming lineage from Atlantis some 35,000 years ago, suggest an even more ancient heritage. If the tales of Atlantis plunging into the ocean depths around 10,000 years ago hold truth, then the Basques might indeed lay claim to the mantle of antiquity. But does the chronicle of human civilization really span only a few tens of thousands of years? Clearly, this is not the case. Among the highlands emerging from the deserts of New Mexico, Arizona, Utah, and Colorado, a region where these states converge, lies the Hopi Reservation. Here resides a group of Native Americans known as the Hopi people, who perhaps are the true bearers of the world's most ancient legacy. Why, then, are the Hopi considered the oldest civilization? What prophecy have they bestowed upon humanity? And why does their foretelling speak of the demise of human civilization, or the Fourth World, in the year 2024? Until the 1960s, the Hopi led a simple agrarian lifestyle. The men would venture kilometers away to cultivate the fields, while the women descended from the highlands to fetch water from the rivers below. Their existence, defined by farming and weaving, remained almost entirely isolated from the outside world. It is said that Hopi signifies peace, reflecting the tribe's philosophical ethos of detachment and harmony. However, the Hopi stand apart in one significant aspect: their ability to foresee the future of mankind. On a day in 1958, a car traversed the interstate highways of Arizona, surrounded by the vast expanses of the desert. Behind the wheel was a man named David Young, a minister who, perhaps due to the long hours spent alone on the road, was beginning to feel drowsy. It was then that he noticed an elderly Native American man by the roadside, thumb outstretched in the universal sign for hitchhiking. Delighted at the prospect of company, David eagerly stopped to offer the old man a ride, sparking a conversation that would unfold into a remarkable exchange. As they spoke, David learned that his frail-looking passenger was a Hopi elder from the Bear clan. The elder, sensing the serendipity of their meeting, chose to share insights into the future of humanity, despite sensing his own time was drawing short. Though skeptical, David was not inclined to dismiss the elder's words outright. The solitude of the drive had weighed heavily on him, and he welcomed the distraction, treating the elder's stories as an intriguing way to pass the time. Sensing David's disbelief, the elder nonetheless continued, unbothered, to delve into the lore of his people. He spoke of the Hopi's anticipation for the return of their long-lost white brothers, known as Pahana. The Hopi elders had safeguarded half of a sacred stone tablet, with the missing half in the possession of Pahana. According to ancient Hopi prophecy, the reunion of these two halves would be a critical test to verify the true Pahana. This event was not only about reuniting with lost kin, but also symbolized a fusion of technology and spirituality, with the Hopi as guardians of the latter. David, intrigued, inquired if Pahana had been found. The elder shook his head, explaining that the prophecy warned of impostors marked by the sign of the cross. The most dire part of the prophecy foretold that if, upon their return, these individuals failed to align with the Hopi's spiritual path, it would signify the end of the Fourth World. This conversation reminded David of a revelation in 1948, when another Hopi elder broke centuries of silence to share 9 ancient prophecies related to the apocalypse, further deepening the mystery of the Hopi's ancient wisdom and their vision for the future of mankind. Within the tapestry of Hopi prophecy, it is foretold that the culmination of 9 specific events related to the apocalypse would herald the end of the world as we know it. The first prophecy foresees the arrival of fair-skinned people, not as the Hopi's brethren Pahana, but as conquerors who would seize Hopi lands and unleash white lightning against them, a clear metaphor for the firearms wielded by European colonizers upon their arrival in the Americas. The second prophecy speaks of the land being crossed by wheels that whirl, likely alluding to the wagons of Europeans and, subsequently, the advent of automobiles. The third prophecy warns of strange long-horned beasts, never before seen on their lands, referring to cattle introduced by Europeans, distinct from the native bison of the Americas. The fourth prophecy envisions the land crisscrossed by iron snakes, symbolizing the sprawling networks of railways. The fifth prophecy predicts the land being enveloped by a giant spider's web, a metaphor for the expansive reach of electrical and communication lines. The sixth prophecy describes the land being pierced by rivers of stone, interpreted as the concrete ribbons of highways that stretch across continents. The seventh prophecy foretells the darkening of the seas, leading to the death of many creatures, possibly hinting at ecological disasters like oil spills or the release of nuclear wastewater into the oceans. The eighth prophecy foresees young people growing their hair long and flocking to tribal areas to immerse themselves in the lifestyle and wisdom there, reminiscent of the hippie movement of the late 20th century, which exhibited a fascination with and sought to experience indigenous cultures. The ninth and most pivotal prophecy speaks of a cataclysmic event where the cities in the sky will fall amidst a tremendous noise and a blue star will manifest. Following this, the Hopi's ceremonial practices will cease. David, intrigued, asks the elder what signs would precede the end of the fourth world. The elder, gazing out the window, solemnly notes that there will be unmistakable omens. The earth will shake back and forth, interpreted as earthquakes. Conflicts will erupt between the white man and other nations, marked by pillars of smoke and fire, alongside plagues and massive death tolls. However, those who are spiritually attuned and those residing within Hopi lands will find sanctuary. After the calamities, much will need to be rebuilt, and soon Pahana will return, heralding the dawn of the fifth world. They will sow the seeds of wisdom in people's hearts, laying the groundwork for the rise of this new era. The elder further warns that the final sign will be the striking down of the cities in the sky, their fall heralded by a loud noise, and the appearance of a blue star, marking the end of their rituals. Although this conversation might seem bewildering, it concludes their exchange without further elaboration. This story between David and the Hopi elder is documented in the Book of the Hopi by Frank Waters, one of the first non-Hopi individuals permitted to record the tribe's secrets. He revealed the Hopi's belief that humanity is on a path toward destruction, urging the world to heed their warnings. According to Hopi prophecy, our current civilization is the fourth world. The first world was destroyed by fire, likely volcanic eruptions. The second world met its end through the shifting of the Earth's poles, a cataclysmic realignment resulting in humanity's downfall. The third world was obliterated by a great flood, and after the demise of our present fourth world, a new civilization will emerge, the fifth world. In his book, Waters notes that 8 of the Hopi's 9 prophecies have come to pass, leaving the fulfillment of the 9th contingent on several key points. Firstly, the prophecy of the cities in the sky being struck and falling. At the time of the book's publication in 1963, even Waters himself was unsure what cities in the sky referred to. It wasn't until 1971, with the launch of the Soviet Union's Salyut 1 space station, that he had an epiphany these cities were likely space stations. Humanity has launched 9 space stations to date. In 2018, the BBC reported that the International Space Station ISS was expected to remain operational for a maximum of 6 more years, potentially ceasing operations by 2024. Meanwhile, China's Tiangong space station was anticipated to be assembled in low Earth orbit before this date. If the prophecy refers to the fall of a space station, it would likely be one of these 2. Secondly, the emergence of the blue star Kachina. This could be interpreted as a comet, given that comets often display a blue ion tail or possibly a supernova explosion. If a comet were to strike a space station, its proximity suggests it would also possess the capability to impact Earth. The resolution to this scenario remains to be seen with time. Lastly, the moment when a Hopi dancer performing the Kachina dance removes his mask. The Kachina dance, a sacred ritual predominantly performed by men who traditionally never remove their masks, signifies a profound moment. The day the dancer inadvertently removes his mask would herald the time of great purification is near, aligning with the prophecy's fulfillment. According to Waters' interpretation, the blue star Kachina has yet to appear, and the Kachina dance of the Hopi people continues. This suggests that there is still time before the apocalypse to realign our spirituality. How can one achieve this realignment? Another Hopi prophecy, depicted on an ancient rock in Arabia, Arizona, might offer some guidance. This rock art, initially mistaken by many for abstract art due to its depiction of matchstick-like figures, circles, and lines, actually represents a profound prophecy about the birth of a new era following great hardship. The largest figure on the left, symbolizing a deity, lowers his bow and arrow, signifying the Hopi's ultimate directive to lay down arms and maintain peace. The vertical lines below this figure represent a timeline, with the cross marking the arrival of a false Pahana. The two circles symbolize the First and Second World Wars, while the four figures at the top represent the four races of humanity: yellow, black, white, and red, the latter being the Native Americans. The thickest vertical line marks the end of the Fourth World. The key to this prophecy lies in the choice between two paths symbolized by the swastika, representing an ancient peaceful ideology, and the Celtic cross, indicating a more aggressive doctrine. Following the aggressive path leads to a difficult and bleak future, whereas embracing the ancient peaceful principles paves the way for prosperity and a new beginning, symbolized by crops regrowing and the dawn of a fresh era. This ancient rock art conveys a message of returning to the essence of life and maintaining the authenticity of existence as humanity's sole path to averting disaster.